and this is the grey squirrel that was introduced by the Victorians. What are the differences? What differences can people see? Yeah, so we've got a couple of things here. Colour, this one looks very grey, this one looks very red. Did someone say size? Did you say size? Yeah, so the grey squirrel is quite a lot bigger than the red squirrel. Sometimes it can be as much as twice as big as the red squirrel. They'll eat a lot more and they're a lot more kind of sturdy and fat. What other differences can people see? Any other differences?
The ear?
Yeah, so the ears. So the red squirrel, particularly in the autumn and winter, gets these lovely big ear tufts. It doesn't show as much on this one because it's seen better days, but it has really big long ear tufts, and that's for keeping its head and its ears really warm through cold winter days. Whereas the grey squirrel, again this one's looking rather moth-eaten, but the grey squirrel has just very little rounded ears that look like a mouse's ears. Any other differences? Did you say something? Behaviour, yes. Yeah, so if these were alive and moving, red squirrels would tend to stay right up in the treetops, so they're much harder to spot. Grey squirrels will spend a lot more time on the floor running around than red squirrels, and grey squirrels to me seem a lot tamer than red squirrels. Red squirrels seem particularly shy. Now the only other difference, which is it's not so easy to see here, but it's really useful. If you see a squirrel jumping across the trees right up, 40 foot above you, it's not always easy to see what it is from that kind of distance, whether it's red or whether it's grey. But the grey squirrel has these white tips on all the hairs on its tail. Don't know if you can see that. Whereas the red squirrel has a solid block of colour on its tail. Now if the sun's shining behind it, that gives the grey squirrel almost a halo. It's really clear that it's got the white tips on its hair, so that's another useful thing to look out for. If we're walking around, have a look round for these, because that'll give us a good indication that there are squirrels around. Now squirrels aren't the only things that eat pine cones, mice will as well. But mice leave it looking a lot neater. I don't know if you can see that, so everything's been nibbled right down to the very base there. So this is it's a trail camera. It's a camera, but it's triggered to take images by movement. So you don't have to sit here and take photos. You strap it to a tree, and what we'll do is we'll put it opposite a feeder box, and then hopefully the squirrels will come to the feeder box, and we'll be able to and the camera will take images of them over the next couple of weeks, and then we can go through those images on the computer and see what's there. It doesn't. We've also got two pads under here, and they're sticky pads, and the idea is then when squirrels go and get some food, they'll leave a little bit of their hair on these sticky pads, and then we can put those hairs under a microscope to see exactly whether it's red or grey. Now you think there's no greys here, hopefully.
We've never seen a grey here, but we have seen them in Otterburn, which is 5 miles down the road. So there are lots of red squirrels in Otterburn as well, but we've seen grey squirrels, but no grey squirrels here, just red squirrels.
Yeah. So hopefully there'll be red squirrels appearing on the camera.
Yeah, we're just hoping that they're still here. There's definitely red squirrels in the woodlands around, because I saw one yesterday on the other side of the valley. But we had this pair that were really distinctive actually, because the male had a very, very dark tail. He was quite striking, wasn't he? He hasn't been seen for a little while, so we're just hoping, fingers crossed, that they're still there. And if not, then that another pair or more than that.
How do you tell the gender of the squirrel?
You can only do that by getting up quite close and personal.
Like they have in here, I'm a female.
No, nothing like that. Squirrels will be able to tell. But we can only tell by looking,
Also, I might be completely mistaken that we thought that the bit slightly bigger one we thought was the male. So it might not be the
might not have been.
That's really interesting. I just presumed
You're
because
so sexist, Red.
he was hardly big and burly.
A little moustache.
She wore a little
pink tutu.
Time to have their young, and the male will chase the female around and around the tree like this. They'll do this kind of mating dance. And and basically the fastest one will win and will get the female. But the kits are usually pretty independent after about 7 or 8 weeks. They'd probably be able to survive on their own just about as long as the weather was good enough. But they'll be very small, and then the young, if they're born in February, will be ready to breed by September, October time if the weather's good enough, or they'll wait until the following year. And every year they grow a winter coat. So in the summer they'll have kind of quite a thin coat, and then in the autumn then they'll grow a thick winter coat, and that's when the red squirrels get their ear tufts. And then when they lose their coat in the spring, so kind of about around now time to grow their summer coat, they're quite vulnerable to getting mange and fleas and mites, and then they can get quite kind of bare patches of skin, but then their fur grows back pretty quickly after that, so they do recover.